My family was pretty okay with that. Like they liked me that I started wearing hijab, but my mom was a bit against it. So I think that's why my mom was a little bit against it, but alhamdulillah, I convinced her at the end. Imagine I'm sharing my sin and someone is doing the sin because I've did it. If they continue doing it, even if I would die, this sin would still go on. Like it's a really big responsibility. Whenever you are sad or something, just close your eyes and think about a place where you feel like peaceful. And of course, Surah Insyirah, like you have to read Surah Insyirah because it does something with your heart, it does something with your breast. It's just something else. I'm Humeyra, aka Humi. I am 20 years old. I was born and grew up in Germany. I started social media in 2020 and I started with TikTok. I make Islamic content. I make like lifestyle content in the term of Muslim productivity and everything. I'm active on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere.
How did you decide wearing hijab? Did your parents support your decision?
I think it was pretty spontaneous. I was 13 years old when I started wearing a hijab. My family was pretty okay with that. Like they liked me that I started wearing hijab. But my mom was a bit against it, like not really against it, but she was like, yeah, you know, wear hijab after your 10th year, after you complete your middle school. And I was like, no, I don't want to. And she was like, what if your friends don't like you? What if they treat you bad after you wear hijab? And I was like, I need to wear it now when I was 13 because my character was still improving, it was still growing. So I grow with my hijab and my character grows with my hijab as well. I think it was the best decision I've ever made to wear the hijab at a young age. I would recommend that to everyone.
How did you feel when you first stepped outside with the hijab?
I was so scared. Like, I was so scared because, like, before you wear hijab, you think about, oh, what will people think about you? What will your teacher think about you? What will your friends think about you? So I was so scared. But I realized after I went outside, it was all just a waste of time to think so much because nobody reacted in a bad way. Like, everyone was so okay with me just wearing a hijab. They didn't say anything. They treated me like they did before.
Does wearing hijab restrict women? There's a perception like women in hijab are boring, they don't have any hobbies and such. How can we break that?
That's not true at all. Like, nowadays you see hijabis everywhere. You can still have fun with your friends. You can still like do things. For example, right now alhamdulillah, I have a group of friends who are really on their deen. And it's so beautiful to just have fun without any backbiting, without anything haram. It's so beautiful to have fun on a halal way.
Have you had a negative reaction in Europe for wearing hijab? Do you think Islamic figures or symbols are respected over there?
I think it depends from person to person. Like, sometimes you will get negative things. Sometimes someone is really positive about the hijab and stuff. Sometimes someone can be just like, oh, go back to your country. Sometimes there are people who are really positive and they be like, oh, you know, the scarf you're wearing is really beautiful. Or like, I was wearing a khimar one time and a woman was like, it looks so beautiful on you. And I like how confident you're wearing it. So it depends from person to person, yeah.
What do you do when you feel depressed?
So my teacher told me something about that. Whenever you feel stressed, whenever you are sad or something, just close your eyes and think about a place where you feel like peaceful. Either it's at the Kaaba, just laying there, or like Masjid al-Nabawi, and you're just praying there, for example, or reading Quran. Close your eyes and think about you being there. And this helps a lot. And of course, Surah Insyirah, like you have to read Surah Insyirah because it does something with your heart, it does something with your breast. It's just something else.
What was the reason behind leaving your school in Europe and coming to a madrasa in Turkey?
So when I was living in Germany, I was studying Islamic theology, like Islamic studies. They give you both options and you have to choose between what's right and what's wrong. And I made so much dua. I was like, Ya Allah, please show me a place which shows me what's right and what's wrong. Like, I just want to know that. Because it's so hard to difference if you don't have a lot of knowledge. So alhamdulillah, my dua got accepted. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. After I took the decision to go to a Quran camp, I told my parents about that, and actually my mom was kind of against it. Like, my father supported my decision, and he was like, yeah, it's a good thing, you know, you're doing something for your akhirah, it's so good. But my mom was like, it's hard for them, you know, it's hard for, especially a mother, that her child is somewhere else in another country. So I think that's why my mom was a little bit against it, but alhamdulillah, I convinced her at the end.
Do you recommend becoming an influencer, which is the dream of many nowadays?
I would say no, like, I wouldn't really recommend it. Of course, if you want to do khair, if you want to do something good, do it, but use it really, really careful, you know, because we have to be so careful with what we're sharing. Imagine I'm sharing my sin and someone is doing the sin because I've did it. If they continue doing it, even if I would die, this sin would still go on. Like, it's a really big responsibility. What a lot of people need to acknowledge is that our followers think like we have the best life ever, we're the best Muslims ever. Humeyra is so happy and she's always happy, she's never sad. But that's not the reality. Like, I do sin as well. I have some bad moments as well. Don't just believe everything on social media.
You don't wear niqab in your daily life. Why do you wear it specially on social media?
I just wear the niqab online, but outside of social media, I'm not wearing the niqab. And the reason why I'm wearing the niqab online, or why I started, was because I felt more private and I felt more secure with that. Like, I felt more protected with that.
If you have 1 minute to say something to all people, what would you say?
I would say, start living consciously. Use your time consciously. Choose your friends consciously. What do I mean with consciously is also like knowing and acknowledging that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees you. We have just this dunya right now, this world right now, to collect good deeds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the blessing of time. We should use it really well in the term of help people, learn new things, develop yourself in different things, and develop your character. Live with ihsan is really important. Living with the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seeing us.